tonight.
I think Jesse would be pretty proud of what's happened today.
Health Canada approves a new drug with fewer side effects as treatment for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Plus, shining a light on an unsavory moment in Forest City history as descendants of a South Carolina plantation visit. And Mark Carney heads to Washington again as Trump tariffs punish Canadians.
CTV News with Lauren Stallone.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with a major milestone for families across Canada affected by Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Health Canada approved a new drug that will help improve the quality of life for young patients. And as CTV's Rita Ismail explains, the news is extra meaningful for John Davidson and the legacy of his son, Jesse.
It's a moment 3 decades in the making for John Davidson, who has been a tireless advocate for Duchenne muscular dystrophy since his son Jesse was diagnosed with the disease in the early 90s.
This is what we wanted all along, you know, when we set out to try to make a difference in the lives of all those boys with Duchenne. And I think Jesse would be pretty proud of what's happened today.
For families facing the debilitating rare genetic disorder, hope has been hard to come by until now.
I've often wondered, what did I say to him at that?
Health Canada has approved a drug called Agamree or vamorolone, the first and only therapy cleared for the treatment of Duchenne in children aged 4 and up. Jesse's journey, now known as Defeat Duchenne Canada, has raised millions for research, and it was their landmark $1 million research grant that helped launch the clinical trial for Agamree.
This is a drug that was developed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy in mind, even though it shares a lot of similarities with traditional steroids. And the hope, and what we've seen in the evidence from vamorolone, is that we can get the same effect on the motor improvements, on how it helps the strength of boys with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, but it reduces some of those really problematic side effects.
The new drug may slow the progression of DMD, a disease that affects 1 in 5,000 boys, though its cost to Canadian patients remains unclear.
There's a lot of hope on the horizon with genetic-based therapies and even gene therapies that are coming to the forefront for Duchenne.
For John Davidson, the drug's approval is another powerful chapter in a story of advocacy, determination, and hope.
If he were here today, he would probably say, well, it's about time. Then he would say, this is great news.
Rita Ismail, CTV News.
A potential new treatment option is in the works for Canadians who suffer from a painful disease with no known cure. CTV's Scott Hurst with more on the medical breakthrough and how AI helped make it happen.
Researchers at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario and MIT have made 2 scientific breakthroughs at once. First, they've been able to develop a new antibiotic that targets inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD. They've also been able to use AI to predict exactly how the drug works. So let's first focus on the disease, IBD, the most common being Crohn's and colitis. And it's important to point out, Canada has one of the highest rates of Crohn's and colitis in the world, so the stakes are incredibly high. That's what brings us to the first breakthrough, the brand new antibiotic. Most antibiotics used in clinics are broad-spectrum drugs, meaning they wipe out good bacteria in addition to those that cause disease. But the new antibiotic discovered at McMaster is a narrow-spectrum drug, meaning it attacks only a specific group of disease-causing bugs. And according to researchers, the new drug is a really promising treatment candidate. Now let's bring in the AI application. Researchers say the development of the new drug has been fast-tracked thanks to the collaboration between human involvement and generative AI. Drug developers typically spend years and millions of dollars trying to determine a new drug's mechanism of action, MOA, or how it kills bacteria. Now, as the principal investigator pointed out, instead of years, they made the initial prediction, thanks to AI, in a matter of minutes. So using AI, this group completed a thorough MOA study in just about 6 months for about $60,000. It could prove to be quite a leap in medical research, and if all goes well, the new drug could be ready for human trials within a matter of years. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
Good evening. We're kicking off a Friday in style with sunshine, a beautiful start to the weekend. If you are making outdoor plans, it's going to be a hot one. Daytime highs in southern Ontario this afternoon between 24 and 28 degrees towards Sarnia and Windsor. Beautiful conditions across our region, feeling like midsummer, not early fall. Skies are clear. We are under the influence of high pressure. Not quite as cool overnight as it was last night. We are expecting a bit of fog to develop through the overnight and first thing in the morning, but skies will be mainly clear. Winds will be light and variable, and the temperature still holding at 15 degrees at midnight. I'll take you through the extended forecast. We do have some fall weather on the way. I'll tell you when, and we'll take a look at the potential for some records to be broken this weekend. I'll have all of that for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Julie. A long vacant building at the split between Hamilton and Gore roads came down today in London with a roar. It is hoped new housing will replace it. CTV's Sean Irvin reports.
You're witnessing the final moments of what had been a prominent building on a parcel of land where Hamilton splits with Gore. About an hour earlier, it was still easy to make out the familiar front entrance of the structure. Over the decades, it had been a restaurant and a bingo hall. However, its appearance has changed dramatically from its beginnings as a Dominion grocery store, as seen in this uncredited photo. Now, after years of complaints, its time has come to an end.
I think a lot of people have memories here, but it's become an eyesore and people really just want to see it gone in this part of the town.
Ward 1 Councillor Hadley McAllister tells CTV News the property owner will be forced to pay the demolition bill.
I've had a number of these cases now, and in every case, the demolition does get put back onto the tax, and we've been able to recoup those costs in every case.
That is good news for Randall David, who lives in a building right next door. He says area residents have grown tired of constant vandalism and fear of fires.
I would be happy with anything going up, as long as it's good for London and the people of London, like maybe some kind of housing.
This site actually was rezoned for residential, and we have had a lot of interest in the area in terms of residential redevelopment. So I actually don't have any worries in terms of eventually the site will be used for something.
Now, one thing planned for the future at this corner is the creation of a roundabout, which will eliminate that split at Hamilton and Gore.
Yeah, that corner is horrendous, so it can be really tricky with the traffic.
With the fork being redesigned and the old store gone, McAllister anticipates renewal for the area.
I mean, times change. Ideally, we'd like buildings to be repurposed, but sometimes, the city has to take this action to knock them down.
McAllister estimates the cost to bring down the structure will exceed $100,000. In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
It's a path to reconciliation for a group of U.S. Southerners. Descendants of a one-time London resident with ties to the slave trade are visiting the Forest City this week to learn more about their shared history and the Canadian connection. CTV's Brian Bicknell has more.
Charnel Bratton takes in a Museum London exhibit on the history of black families in London, but it's her own history in the southern U.S. that brings her north of the border.
When there was an opportunity to kind of meet the descendants, the white descendants, as we know we were the black descendants, we wanted to kind of get together and start mending that bridge.
Charnel is part of the descendants of Brattonsville. They're black and white relations of this man, James Rufus Bratton, of the Bratton family plantation in South Carolina. They're visiting London as part of a path to reconciliation.
So we have a group of people that have been very interested in just finding out as much information as we can. Now, some of it is not pretty. Some of it is unpleasant, but it's still history.
And it's not about looking back on history and blaming individuals about it. It's about looking into the future and figuring out what we can do to enhance human relations of any kind.
In South Carolina, James Rufus Bratton was a Confederate Army surgeon, a slave owner, and a leader in the Ku Klux Klan. In 1871, he was implicated in the lynching of a black militia leader. That's when he fled to London, Ontario. A key part of the tour takes visitors visitors to this site, what is now Oxford Bookshop on Piccadilly. But it was also home to an accused murderer and Klansman running from his past. James Rufus Bratton would make this his home, reinventing himself as a respected member of this community. It was near this boarding house on Wellington Street. Bratton was kidnapped by American authorities and brought back to South Carolina. He was released and returned to London.
He was a doctor and he was well connected to the sort of the elite of London.
Bratton would eventually go back home to South Carolina, leaving behind a community seeking to learn more about the ties that bind them.
I think it helps to know who you are, helps to help identify and become who you want to be when you can understand your past.
Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
A special task force is recommending city councillors get a 35% raise next term, earning more than 70% of Londoners with full-time jobs. But as CTV's Daryl Newcomb explains, they can't be required to work full-time hours.
A task force reviewing council compensation and resourcing wrapped up its work, recommending a significant hike to the base pay of London's 14 councillors next term, poised to be just under $70,000, equal to the median full-time income in London. The task force recommends moving to the 70th percentile, over $94,000 a year, equal to a 35% pay increase.
They are ultimately responsible for a more than $1 billion budget each year. So you want good people, and you want to reward good people for their good work without paying them exorbitantly. And I don't think that the 70th percentile does.
No increase is recommended for the mayor, but standing committee chairs would earn an extra 4%, and the deputy mayor and budget chair over $100,000 a year. While the recommended compensation is based on full-time employment data, the task force points out there's no legislative ability to require councillors to work full-time hours.
What we do know is that in practice, councillors often work more than 40 hours a week, and that's exactly what the public expect them to do.
Previous task forces have also tried to emphasize that it should be treated as a full-time role, but currently several councillors continue to work external jobs or operate small businesses.
We just don't think, given what we've heard, that it's possible to represent people well as a councillor in the City of London while doing other full-time gainful employment. The job is just too complicated. It's too much work. The demands are too high.
According to some London residents, full-time pay should require a full-time commitment.
I think it's a part-time job for most of them, for the majority of them. I understand there are a few that are on every committee and all that, but for the most of them, it's a part-time job.
Some specific work hours there. I think that's only fair, especially if they want to raise.
So while not required, would the task force expect candidates in next year's municipal election to be prepared to quit their current jobs if elected?
The short answer is yes, that if you're going to be running for council in London, the demands of the council job are such that you should expect to have to hit pause on other gainful employment.
The task force's 16 recommendations will be considered by a council committee at the end of this month. Daryl Newcomb, CTV News.
The mayors of Burlington and Brampton are leading an effort to convince Premier Doug Ford to change course on his plan to ban speed cameras. Burlington Mayor Mary Ann Weedward and Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown have written a letter to Ford with the support of 20 other mayors. They argue a total ban on the cameras would turn back years of progress on school zone safety. They're asking Ford to allow speed cameras to still be deployed near schools, but with a number of added measures. These include using a reasonable threshold of speed before a ticket is issued and sending a warning for a first offense. A Huron County farmer says he's been approved by the party to run for the federal NDP leadership. Tony McQueel issued a news release today. McQueel is a 7-time NDP candidate in his home riding of Huron-Bruce, but he has never held public office. Party members will cast their ballot for leader next year, with a winner announced March 29th. The lightning will not strike this year. The London Lightning will be sidelined this season after a 14-year run. The team points to instability at the league level for the decision not to take the court this year. The team launched in 2011 as part of the National Basketball League of Canada, winning the first 2 league titles and claiming 7 championships in total. The Lightning are currently part of the Basketball Super League. Leadership says there are questions about the number of viable teams in that league and say it wouldn't be in the best interest of the team or the fans to play this year. They say the Lightning is open to playing in the future should the right opportunity present itself. It wasn't the start a London home cook was hoping for during last night's premiere of MasterChef Canada.
Obviously, I'm disappointed at the outcome, but I'm still proud that I made it to this kitchen.
Ashley Treadway was eliminated from the competition along with 2 other contestants. Treadway works as a nurse practitioner here in London and is also working towards her PhD. If you missed the premiere, you can catch it again Tuesday night at 7 p.m. on the main CTV network. Coming up, the Prime Minister heads back to Washington as Trump's punishing tariffs begin to bite.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We begin tonight with Ontario's latest.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVLondon.ca, your home for news.
The VIP prize deadline for the Princess Margaret Lottery is tonight. You could win a 2026 BMW X5 50 EM Sport and a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Bali for 7 nights for 2 adults, or take $100,000 cash. Plus, 3,500 lucky winners will get a $100 home lottery ticket. Buy early, win more. Over 17,000 prizes will be awarded, valued at $12 million, including the grand prize built by Gata Homes. Buy online at princessmargaretlotto.com. Every ticket gives you a chance to win life-changing prizes and helps fund life-saving cancer research.
The Prime Minister is gearing up for another trip to Washington next week. He's preparing to meet with the President to help navigate the trade and tariff impasse. Abigail Beeman reports.
Why don't you just join our country? You become 51, become the 51st state.
It will be Mark Carney's second White House visit since becoming Prime Minister in a déjà vu era of 51st state remarks.
As long as this continued reference to the 51st state remains foremost in the President's mind, this is not an atmosphere that is going to make these type of negotiations easy, and it's something that absolutely enrages Canadians.
The Prime Minister has been tight-lipped lately about any progress with the President, his office not always saying when they've spoken.
Have you talked to Donald Trump recently? Yes. What'd he say?
But next week's visit will aim to keep trying to get a deal on punishing American tariffs, as both countries also launch consultations for the upcoming review of CUSMA. One source tells CTV News Canada is expecting progress on steel and aluminum tariffs, but not autos. In a rare public update, the top minister on the Canada-U.S. file told a Senate committee this week he's hopeful there can be a separate deal ahead of CUSMA.
I'm hoping we can get progress before the review process formally engages, but time will tell us if my optimism is misplaced.
The embassy is abuzz, Canadian embassy is abuzz with visits and people reaching out and meetings. But maybe I think Mark Carney knows that sometimes the principal has to get into the room to close the deal. And I'm hoping that Mark Carney's trip to Washington to meet with President Trump will be about a deal and not just more conversation.
In addition to LeBlanc, the foreign affairs and industry ministers will be joining the Prime Minister on his trip to D.C. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
It's a catchy tune that will be sung right across the country this weekend. OK, Blue Jays will be ringing in the players' ears tomorrow when they take on the New York Yankees in the first series of the finals. CTV's John Benavalli-Rao caught up with the song's writers for more on the story behind it.
It's a staple of the seventh inning stretch whenever the Blue Jays play at home. A song that's been around for more than 40 years.
You got a diamond, you got 9 men.
And one musician, Jack Lenz, helped to compose in a single afternoon back in 1982.
And that's not all. Yeah, it was an afternoon, a couple hours.
Back then, Lenz and songwriting partner Tony Kosnick were asked to come up with a commercial to help market the Blue Jays to people who may not be baseball fans, which included Lenz and Kosnick, who'd never been to a big league game.
Neither of us were qualified to write that song.
Lenz says then Blue Jays executive Paul Beeston met with him and told the pair, when writing the song, to take into consideration the team was just 5 years old.
He didn't want to promise too much, so we could say they were okay. That was exact words. But fortunately, okay rhymed with Blue Jays, right?
They figured the song they came up with would last about a year, but it was released as a record that eventually went gold, selling more than 50,000 copies.
This is original.
This goes back to 1982.
Yeah.
Lenz showing us the sheet music that's now a piece of Blue Jays history.
You got the bleachers. You got them from spring till fall.
A song that featured the voice of musician Keith Hampshire.
A little OK Blue Jays.
Who says almost no one knows it's him singing the lyrics.
I go to the ball games now with my grandson, and when he was little, he used to look at me and go, "Is that you, Papa?" I go, "Yeah, that's me, son."
Hampshire is a big Jays fan and pleased the song lives on.
Okay.
And like Lenz, hoping the team is more than just okay in the playoffs.
Let's.
John Venevali-Rao, CTV News.
Crack.
Toronto.
Julie Atchison joins me on the desk now. Julie, it was another gorgeous day, and I know you're like me, trying to soak up every last minute while the weather is like this, and it honestly feels too good to be true.
It really does. You know, so many people this time of year plan outdoor fall weddings, and they start to think about all the fall activities. But the forecast has us feeling summer-like, so hopefully you're enjoying the beautiful weather now. This is a look at the record highs as we head into the weekend. So 27.2, the record to beat, set back in 51, 28.9 on Sunday and Monday at 30 degrees. We'll take a definite run at those records, and we'll likely see some of them shattered in parts of the region. Beautiful beach day as we head towards Goderich. Look at the calm water. The marine forecast, it's been absolutely fantastic. We are under the influence of high pressure at the surface and in the upper atmosphere, and you know what that means. Great conditions to be out on the boat. This weekend will feature much of the same. 26 degrees at the London airport for the high, 7 degrees our low. It's really our high temperature, of course, that's been well above normal. So as we take a look at the satellite radar, there hasn't been a whole lot to show you in terms of active weather. We have to go to northwestern Ontario to even pick up a front. Other than that, we just have this dominant ridge in place. So things are blocked up in the upper atmosphere, so nothing's really moving. If you remember last night's surface analysis, we were basically looking at the same map. So in terms of our forecast as we head into tomorrow, much of the same, lots of sunshine on the way, although temperatures heating up a bit more. So that heat that was in place across the American Midwest yesterday, that heat will be building right through southern Ontario this weekend. It's cooler today, though, in Western Canada. Temperatures, though, nice and comfortable for this time of year, but lots of sunshine coast to coast. I was hard pressed to find any watches or warnings. I had to go all the way to Nunavut to find one warning in effect, and it's with snowfall. Other than that, it's quiet across the country. We do have some fog in the forecast overnight, but other than that, we will remain under high pressure as we head into your Saturday. So I took the forecast model out 72 hours, and the reason is I wanted to show you what's coming up. So as we head toward midweek next week, eventually our ridge will break down, but it will take until Wednesday where we start to really feel the impacts of that. But we do have some showers in the extended forecast, and of course we need the rain. So overnight, 12 degrees in London, much warmer than it was last night. Midwestern Ontario as well, 12 to 14 degrees, 14 in Port and Long Point. Saturday's forecast highs, check this out, 26 degrees in Wyerton. In London, 29, so close to 30. If we hit that 29 degrees, we'll be breaking records for sure. Midwestern Ontario, 26 to 28 degrees, so just enjoying some beautiful weather for your Saturday. That continues on Sunday. Get out and enjoy, take advantage of it, go to the beach, get outside. I know this is actually too hot for some people when it feels like the low 30s. Winds will be light and variable, but generally out of the south as we head through the afternoon. And again, 29 degrees. Our metal roof outlet forecast for Sunday, sunshine and 20 28. We'll hold on to the warmth on Monday at 28 degrees, and then the chance for showers on Tuesday. That's the cold front coming in, so we'll have the cloud cover and the rain around. In behind it, some strong cold air advection will push in, and look at that drop, 15 degrees. Now, the cool conditions aren't going to last because we're back up to 16 Thursday and 19 again on Friday. So just a couple days of some cool fall-like temperatures, and then temperatures are headed back up as we head toward the holiday weekend. Midwestern Ontario, 27 degrees to 28 tomorrow. It's going to be a banger weekend across the region. Sunshine Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And then the clouds start to come in with rain on Tuesday. Rain in the forecast early Wednesday. Forecast models indicating that rain base will start to move out by Wednesday afternoon, but we will likely still hang on to and squeeze out some showers early Wednesday morning. Thursday, a mix of sun and cloud, and Friday, lots of sunshine. Lauren, that is an awesome October weekend forecast setting up. Sunshine and temperatures breaking records likely across the region. Back to you.
Thanks, Julie. When we return, what you need to know about insurance for your vehicle and 5 popular myths you should be aware of.
Coming up Monday morning, we are taking the show to the beach. We're going to be broadcasting live from Sandals South Coast in Jamaica, showcasing what you can win with a Pure Country passport. Your next keyword, your next chance to qualify is coming up Monday morning at 6 a.m.
Canada Post has tabled a new contract offer to its striking union. Canada Post presented a new offer to the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, promising modernization while, in their words, maintaining fair wages and benefits. The proposal includes a 13.59% wage increase over 4 years, a defined benefit pension, health and post-retirement benefits, up to 7 weeks vacation, and a cost of living allowance. They say the offer is sustainable and builds on its May 28th proposal. We are waiting for a response from the union on the offer. Meanwhile, striking postal workers set their sights on the local Purelator distribution location in East London today. Those are Cup W members cheering in front of Purelator trucks being delayed from entering the Cuddy Court facility. They also targeted vehicles they say are being used by independent contractors doing deliveries, holding them up as they tried to leave the property. The postal workers say independent drivers are picking up overflow that has been created by the strike. The workers point out that Canada Post is a Crown corporation and a majority owner of Purelator. They argue that creates a conflict the federal government shouldn't allow.
We've talked to a lot of the customers that come in just quickly, and a lot of them don't know that 91% of Purelator is owned by Canada Post. How can you have so much conflict of interest at a government level like that? And, you know, and the government's looking to cut jobs. And, you know, they're good paying jobs that we need in Canada right now.
There's a popular myth the color of your car can affect your insurance premiums, which of course is not true, but where you live will affect how much you pay. CTV's Pat Foran has more.
There are about 26 million vehicles on the road in Canada, and it's mandatory to have car insurance, but not all policies are the same, and there can be differences in what's covered and what isn't. The first myth, comprehensive coverage is the same as full coverage. That's false.
It will provide coverage for perils like fire, theft, vandalism, if someone's trying to break into your car, causes damage, that type of thing.
Stephen Harris with lowestrates.ca says collision insurance covers you for accidents with other vehicles, collisions with objects, or hit-and-run crashes. Having both collision and comprehensive is generally considered full coverage. Myth number 2, a personal policy covers rideshare driving. That's false. Most personal policies exclude commercial use, such as ride sharing and food delivery. If you're going to do that, you'll need additional coverage.
But you don't want to shortcut that. You want to be transparent, so at the time of claim, there's no surprises, because it could be a very costly mistake.
If I have 2 at-fault claims, my insurance can go up substantially. That's not a myth. It's true.
If you have 2 at-fault accidents, generally in a period of about within 6 years, you would move into what's called a non-standard insurance market for auto insurance. And yes, your premiums do go up quite a bit.
If I lend my car to a friend and they crash, their insurance pays. That's false. It's a myth.
If you lend your car, you lend your insurance. So if that person is driving the vehicle and is in an at-fault accident, it generally will follow the registered owner of the vehicle. So do be mindful about who you lend your vehicle to.
Older cars only need liability coverage. In this current market, that's false.
Definitely don't assume I have a 10-year-old, 12-year-old vehicle. It's not worth a lot anymore because it really has changed in the past few years.
A 10-year-old car these days could still be worth $15,000, so you'll want to go over your coverage with your insurance company to see if keeping full coverage on an older vehicle might make sense. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Canada's main stock index was up in a broad-based rally to end the week. In Toronto, the TSX gained 311 points, and in New York, the Dow added 239, while the Nasdaq fell 64. The Canadian dollar is up 0.05 of a cent, and on commodity markets, gold gained $40 an ounce, and oil added 40 cents a barrel. The fall season has arrived, and coming up later, we'll take you to Algonquin Park for a glimpse of the fall colors.
5K a day is back on 97.5 Virgin Radio. Listen to Jeff KP and Backstage Ben for your chance to win $5,000
every weekday.
5K a day.
Virgin Radio.
Elmer police have accused a St. Thomas woman of defrauding a person out of $1.2 million. Police say they've charged 54-year-old Catherine Zier after an investigation into an exploitative personal relationship spanning several years. She was arrested on Tuesday and released with several conditions. Police say there may be more alleged victims and urge anyone with information to contact them. Lambton OPP say a sudden death that happened Thursday is not suspicious. Emergency crews were called to a construction accident on King Street West. A 26-year-old resident of Mexico was rushed to hospital where they later died. The Ministry of Labor is investigating. Health officials in Alberta are confirming the province's first measles death this year, a baby born prematurely. The baby, whose mother contracted measles during pregnancy, died shortly after birth. Children under 5, people with weakened immune systems, and those who are pregnant are at highest risk for measles infections. Health experts say measles cases have gone up as immunization rates have gone down. New reporting from Statistics Canada suggests that most Canadians are obese and overweight. The data says nearly 70% of Canadians between the ages of 18 and 79 have a body mass index that classifies them as overweight. The government agency says its findings are based on a Canada Health Measures survey conducted between 2022 and 2024. The survey also found that abdominal obesity is widespread, with roughly half of Canadians possessing a waist circumference related to greater health risks. The latest big pipeline proposal out of Alberta is being called a non-starter by many BC First Nations, just one day after a push by the Alberta government to jumpstart a new bitumen pipeline to the coast. The opposition is already mounting. CTV's Tim Brooke reports.
While she pushes to build a pipeline through northern BC, some First Nations leaders have a message for Alberta's premier.
My message to her is go home, stay home, forget about it. Not going to happen.
Some Indigenous groups along potential pipeline routes plan to fight the Alberta government project.
The so-called consultation declaration on the part of Premier Smith is bogus. Our groups are already beginning to mobilize for the battle.
The Union of British Columbia Indian Chiefs, which represents 135 First Nations, is against the idea. So too is a group of coastal nations, including one that stretches to Prince Rupert, one of the potential pipeline destinations.
I work collaboratively with our hereditary chiefs, who are the title holders. And our mandate from the title holders is that there will be no crude oil pipeline within our territory.
I think once people understand what's in front of them, what the opportunities are, especially the opportunity of lifting themselves and their quality of life to a better quality of life than they've ever had before, I think people will think about things a little differently. definitely.
Alberta is also calling for the West Coast tanker ban to be lifted, insisting transport of oil is much safer now than it was just a few years ago. And while there are clear challenges, there is some support in BC.
We're for responsible development of our natural resources. We know it can be done safely. We know it can be done with environmental protection.
And the CEO of one of the Alberta companies supporting the proposal says the majority of Canadians will benefit from another pipeline to the West Coast.
Not everybody is going to be 100% on side with all these projects, regardless of what project is. That's just not the way of any modern society. I mean, some people will like them, some people won't.
Tim Brooke, CTV News, Calgary.
Soaking up the sun this weekend. Absolutely gorgeous weather on the way. Still feeling like summer. Thank you so much, Dawn, for this photo taken in the Fraser backyard last night. Just gorgeous weather on the way. Get out and enjoy it this weekend. We'll take a run at some records in southern Ontario. And the next opportunity for rain moving into our region on Tuesday with cooler air to follow.
There's been a big development on the war in Gaza following an ultimatum issued earlier in the day by U.S. President Donald Trump. Hamas has issued a response to a proposed Gaza peace plan. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
Reuters is reporting that Hamas is accepting the peace deal put forward by U.S. President Donald Trump. This after he issued an ultimatum earlier today. On social media, Donald Trump wrote that an agreement must be reached by Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Washington time. This is the last chance agreement, Trump wrote, and all hell like no one has seen before will break out against Hamas. This peace proposal was first unveiled on Monday by Trump after he met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The 20-point peace plan calls for Hamas to release all 48 hostages, 20 of whom are believed to still be alive. Hamas members must agree to decommission their weapons and commit to peaceful coexistence. In exchange, Israel would also release nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and gradually withdraw from Gaza, while a stabilization force led by Arab nations would eventually take over security in the territory. Now, this is happening after several countries, traditional allies of the U.S. and Israel, such as France, Britain, Australia, and Canada, recently recognized the state of Palestine last week at the United Nations General Assembly. Now, the war in Gaza is nearing 2 years. It would have reached its 2-year anniversary on October 7th. Palestinian officials say that more than 60,000 people have died and nearly 2 million people are at risk of starvation. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
As the United Kingdom comes to terms with yesterday's deadly car and knife attack on a Manchester synagogue, police are sharing some new information about what unfolded. They now say it appears one of the 2 men killed at the scene may have been struck by a police bullet. The Greater Manchester Police Chief says a forensic examination has found that the victim had a wound consistent with a gunshot injury. He said the attacker did not have a gun and the only shots fired were by police. The 35-year-old suspect, who was wearing a fake explosive belt, was fatally shot by officers. The 2 men killed have been identified as 53-year-old Adrian Dolby and 66-year-old Melvin Kravitz. 3 other victims were seriously hurt in what authorities described as a terrorist attack. Police have also arrested 3 other people.
Make no mistake, Jewish people here are actively questioning whether we have a future in the United Kingdom and whether this country is going to be as welcoming to our children as it has been to myself and my family over many generations.
Just awful. It's really sad to see the effect it's having on everybody. It's not the country I want to live in. It's somewhere where people are being affected so awfully for just living their life. It's definitely not what anyone wants, and it's really sad to see.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer visited the Heaton Park Hebrew congregation in Manchester today, thanking emergency services and pledging to protect Britain's Jewish community amid heightened security concerns. Passengers who booked a Caribbean cruise are dealing with some disappointment after tropical storms forced their ship to head to Boston instead.
They didn't give us an itinerary change and 24 hours of notice in advance.
Some people didn't really know. It kind of sucked.
Some passengers arrived on board with the wrong clothing for their surprise destination, which will also include 2 stops in Maine. Some said they wish they hadn't taken the trip in the first place. A Norwegian cruise line spokesperson said the safety of guests, crew, and the communities visited are always a top priority. Taylor Swift's Tortured Poets era has come to an end, and now she's officially a showgirl.
Wait, the more you play, the more that you pay. You're softer than a kitten, so you don't know the life of a showgirl.
The Life of a Showgirl, Swift's 12th album, is now out. So far, the reviews are glowing. Along with the album, there is also a film. The official release party for A Showgirl is now playing in theaters. It includes the world premiere of the music video for the lead single, The Fate of Ophelia, along with behind-the-scenes footage, lyric videos, and never-before-seen personal reflections.
London's top stories.
We have breaking news tonight out of Ottawa. The latest in the
breaking news alerts.
I'm tracking an area of severe weather. It'll start.
And watch live.
A development now to a story from City Hall we brought you.
Download the CTV News app.
A UBC chemistry professor's puzzling hobby is being recognized by the New York Times, and his crosswords are adding up to something pretty remarkable. Here's Adam Sawatsky.
This is not a story about realizing a childhood dream, because back then, Mark McLaughlin was unaware of a crucial reality.
I'd never even heard of the New York Times when I was a kid.
Instead, Mark would regularly borrow his mom's magazines to complete the printed puzzles before learning how to effortlessly solve a Rubik's Cube.
Everybody would bring their cubes to me at school, and I would solve their cubes.
While he would grow up to become an award-winning chemistry professor, dean of science at UBC, and prolific Aloha shirt wearer,
I feel like they brighten the day for everybody else in the room.
It wasn't until Mark was pursuing his postgraduate work at MIT in the late 90s that he discovered the pleasure of completing a crossword.
I just completely forget about work and that I have another life and immerse myself in the puzzle.
Until one day, Mark wondered, who actually makes the crosswords?
Found out that anyone can submit a puzzle to the New York Times.
So, Mark taught himself how to design crosswords by hand, which can take between 30 to 80 hours, and started submitting them.
And promptly got it rejected and tried over and over.
But Mark persevered until he finally got his first puzzle published in the Los Angeles Times.
It was amazing. Yeah, super cool to finally get one accepted.
Since then, Mark has upgraded to using a computer to make more than 75 puzzles.
And I like trying to come up with new, clever themes that other people haven't thought about before.
While having a complex puzzle published can earn more than $2,200, Mark says seeing his work printed in the prestigious New York Times Weekend Edition is priceless.
And Sunday New York Times has felt the best.
Bigger than anything else in your career?
I think so.
While the puzzle-loving boy he once was never knew to dream this big,
I never imagined I'd be doing this as a hobby.
The professor he now is hopes his puzzling pastime, like teaching in Aloha shirts or riding with dinosaurs, proves to be both educational and entertaining.
I hope that people enjoy it and learn something new.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Vancouver.
Ontario is popping with color, especially over at Algonquin Park, where leaves are turning and the views are stunning. CTV's Rob Cooper found out what makes the season special and how to soak in nature's annual show safely.
Whether it's Muskoka or Algonquin Park, you don't have to look very far to find a perfect view.
We heard a lot about Algonquin Park. It will be like so beautiful in the fall season. So we want to experience that one.
You like what you see so far?
Oh, yeah.
This time of year, it's all about the fall colors. People from all over the world flock to the region just to snap the perfect pic.
I'm from Germany and I want to see the fall. Just I expected. Yes. It's beautiful, the wet trees.
Staff at Algonquin Provincial Park said the colors are already at its peak for the season, a little early, partly because of the summer drought.
Yeah, so right now we're actually at 100% with 30% leaf drop. So we are at peak here in Algonquin Park, especially with our reds and oranges. Those yellows and golden colors are still to come, however.
Known as the Golden After Show, those yellows and oranges will likely appear later in the month.
so good to be up here. It's good for the soul, peace of mind, all that. But I've seen better years, but I'd rather be here.
Got up here a little later than I expected, but so far so good, and it's absolutely beautiful out here, so how could you not want to be up here?
About 1.4 million people visit the park every year. The majority of those show up during the fall season for the colors. Visitors are reminded to avoid parking next to Highway 60 for obvious safety reasons. While the colors may not be as dominant as previous years, the show is still a go until the wind and rain arrive.
Wind and rain are certainly a buzzkill. Wind and rain, of course, knock the leaves down and actually creates a shorter fall color season.
Honestly, personally, I don't really like the full red color. I prefer the color with different, let's say, yellow, orange and green and everything mixed together. It makes me feel much better.
Okay, so a few things to keep in mind if you are heading up. For one, animals. Two, your speed on the highway as it will be busy. And of course, don't park next to the highway. Other than that, take a ton of pictures and send them to us. Rob Cooper, CTV News, Algonquin Park.
Now that's how you take a selfie. That's our time tonight. For your latest local updates, you can always head to our website. Our next newscast is at 11. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.